Hello, hello. Guess nobody's joined yet. But I will do some work anyway. This is the stream about improving Python's language reference, or making sure that the documentation, the grammar in the documentation matches what Python actually uses. And last time we were here, I said something about converting. Wait, where am I? I said something about converting the grammar we get from the grammar parser to my own hierarchy or structure of classes. I'm not sure I'm on the right I'm not sure I'm on the right branch right here. This is probably it. No, this is not it. I was on the right branch. Docs fragment generator is what I want to be. That's where I want to be. Right, this is it. I did this off stream. I have a node class. Everything here is a data class, even though something doesn't really have to be. From that I derived a container, which can be a choice or a sequence, decorator, which has one child, that's for optional 1 or more or 0 or more, gather, which has 2 children, separator and an expression, and then there are 2 kinds of leaves, which is either a reference or a string. Those don't have any children, they just have a value. The reason I'm doing this is because it should be much easier to work with a tree of this nodes, because I'm able to create new ones quite easily and I don't have to worry about all the attributes on the actual grammar nodes, which I don't care about. I guess most of those are on things like rule, which has a type and a optional memo, and it has attributes like left recursive and leader. Yeah, I don't want to worry about any of that. I just want a simple structure for my nodes. And with that, I should be able to somehow start simplifying it. And the first simplification I want to make is to inline rules that make sense to inline somehow. I guess I'll inline this statement, these statements into this statement first. So how do I do that? Whew, doing this live is always nerve-wracking. So what do I have here? I have a convert grammar node, which takes the grammar node and makes my class out of it. I have generate all descendants from a grammar node. Maybe I should call everything here grammar node to make sure I know what I'm working with. Oh, this is perhaps my own node. Oh, for item in where does it do? This takes a rule. Yeah, this is a grammar node. And I actually, when I want to generate related rules, I might want to use this converted node. So my own node would be this one. And then I will generate all descendants from my own nodes, which should be much simpler. Because they're all iterable. Well, they should be all iterable. Maybe they're not yet, but I'll make them iterable. And in case we have this one, this reference, then it has a value just like the other descendant, and I will generate new rules from the grammar rules here. Okay, so does that work? Looks like it does. And I will, where do I want to inline stuff? What are the conditions to inline something? So here it's quite easy. I might be able to inline everything. In here, I probably don't want to inline everything, because this try statement thing is already quite long. Well, I guess I should simplify this further on the documentation side before trying to look at what to inline, because this block is shared with all the other compound statements. So there's a block in the for and the if and the while, and the original documentation has the definition of compound statement, which I have here. That's basically also I guess running Sphinx repeatedly is not a very good idea, because it somehow runs too many processes and eats all my memory. And when I kill it, my memory goes back to normal. Oh well. Anyway, so for the docs, I should probably include the suite here in its, well, with the description of what the suite is, in the new documentation, or in the actual grammar file, it's called a block, and block might be a better name for that. So let me try to do that with the system I've set up here. So what I want to do is put the block in my top level rules here after compound statement, and then put it in the documentation. This should also be automated later. So compound statements, I have a peg fragment for compound statement, and I also want to have it for block. I hope it works that way. Let's see. And Sphinx, it's taking its time again. I should probably get rid of the library directory. Let me take some time to do that after this.
It's so cool. I'm glad you. I can't tell you how happy I am that you do this. I need to set up some sort of an alert so that I know when you come online.
Hi, thanks for joining. Yeah, it should be the same
No,
time every week, but
oh,
at the end of the
okay.
year, it's gonna be a little more complicated.
Oh, so it's every week then. This is great.
Yeah, so this is not a very high priority task, so but I do want to move it forward, so I just dedicated 2 hours a week to it and trying to move it forward. Right, so here we go. Now, compound statement is described here, and there's the block, which is the same thing as the suite in the old docs. And now we have the statements and the statement with the block, and hopefully that's simplified ifs and whiles. Fors not so much, and tries as well. And I think I'll see the same information in my output from the script here. Right, this might be even nicer. So I see there's compound statement. But it's So for compound statement, I have this. It's formatted a little bit more nicely, but it does have this part which I don't need. And then I have block and statement plus statement and even invalid block here. Yeah, probably better to look at the documentation. And I said I would dedicate some time to removing the parts of the documentation I don't need to make Sphinx a bit faster. So let's do that. What happens if I take this library directory and remove it? Don't really move to trash. There we go. Git will say doc library is all removed. There's a lot of it, and Sphinx will probably say that it's now full of errors, right? What happened to my terminal? 300 files removed. That might make it a little bit faster. Where are those files referenced? They're like an index. Contents. Ah, here. I should probably remove library here. And reference to non-existing documents. So will that help? And one interesting thing is that because the previous Sphinx run ended with an error, it has to throw away its cache basically. Oh, dear. Okay, so since I removed the library section, I now have undefined labels, which is kind of a problem because I want Sphinx to give me errors about undefined labels in general, but not about labels that are defined in other places in the documentation. So I don't know if this is a good idea. So I think Cam suggested removing pieces of the documentations to make Sphinx faster to build. Let me go ahead.
I suppose another. I mean, if you can edit the conf.py to have an exclude path if you want it to just skip over the pieces you don't like anymore.
Will that help with undefined labels in the pieces of documentation I do want? Right, because I do want reference compound statements, and it's referencing this thing that I just removed.
Yeah, so you'd need to find them.
Yeah. That's a bummer. But maybe there's just one.
Does PyCharm, if you do a refactor in PyCharm, will it find the pieces that are, find the references for you?
Oh, well, Sphinx will do that for me. I just have to rebuild it. That's not the problem. So let me remove what's new as well. That's pretty big. Let me just go a bit further with this. What's new? And I will go to compound statements and just remove this line for now and see how far that takes me. And I have no idea why this breaks my terminal every time I do this. Now there's probably a lot more I'm missing, and Sphinx will only tell me about the first one, as is tradition for Python stuff. Yeah, deprecation warning, stuff like that. So I guess one more thing I could do is disable this warning and just deal with undefined references when I'm done and I bring the rest of the documentation back in. How do I do that? So since I'm running Sphinx very manually,
oh, that is manually. Wow.
It's entirely manually because I'm running also my little script to generate the data for it. And I want
Does
to.
Sphinx build have like the opposite of? Can you do like the opposite of nitpicky? Like.
Yeah. I don't turn warnings into errors, right? So what does Sphinx build? Does it have a help? What do all these options mean anyway? W is turn warning into errors. So there was W in here,
Awesome.
and that's the thing that is breaking my build. That is much faster. There's a bunch of undefined labels, but nothing I can't handle. And the docs look pretty much the same, so that was a success, I guess. So I should add this to Git and make it a single commit. So that would be doc library and doc what's new and doc contents, right? Data, peg, whatever, that's my stuff. Reference compound statement, that's yeah, that's my stuff. I added that, and yeah, this is just work in progress. So this is a temporary commit. Remove a chunk of the docs. So one other thing I'm doing is learning a new keyboard layout, so I'm a bit clumsy. Anyway.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's I don't know if it's a good idea to have this experiment, but it's fun.
Well, did you switch to Colmac?
Colmac is optimized for English, and I'm bilingual.
Oh, okay,
so
okay, of course.
I used a similar algorithm to optimize my layout, and I'm still not that comfortable with it, but so far it looks nice.
Yeah. Yes, of course.
So back to my script run Sphinx. Okay, so I guess that's the main thing I should do now. Just go through the docs and see where there are parts that make the grammar too big, meaning that there are rules that probably need to be documented somewhere else. So for top level components, file input looks okay. The statements need to be inlined in here, but that's fine. Interactive input, that's basically one statement once it's inlined, so that'll be fine. Eval is good as well. Compound statements. This pretty much mirrors what's up here. There's a suite, which is a block, there's a statement, and there's a statement list. It should be fine. Okay, if statement has a named expression. Named expression is either an assignment expression or a normal expression, I guess. The original docs only used assignment expression. I wonder what's different. Let's see here. Assignment expression in the old grammar has optional. As the optional.
Oh, this is the walrus operator.
Yes, it is. So this assignment expression is not always the assignment expression. This one is always an assignment expression. So I guess here, instead of the assignment, I will want to use the named one. Let's see what assignment expression is in the actual grammar. So assignment expression, right, that's the walrus, and named expression is either the walrus or the not walrus. It's an expression without the walrus.
Oh. Okay.
So yeah, the same thing that assignment expression was here. But I'm not sure uh, if it should be documented the same way. This is probably better for the assignment expression section. Now here we have conditional expressions, which in the old docs had both conditional expression and expression as a whole. And apparently I put both of these in, and this should probably also have the named expression thing. Is there some kind of top level section that defines what an expression actually is? As in terms of the grammar, this chapter kind of goes backwards. It goes from the smallest things.
Oh, I see.
And
yeah, that is kind of backwards.
Ends with what an expression is down here. But it's nothing more than a combination of what was there before, right? This conditional expression is just before it, and then there's disjunction, which is probably just before it, and so on and so forth. So yeah, it might be good to have a separate section saying, and now we combine everything we've learned, or maybe we need to structure this entirely differently. Anyway, expression is defined here in the existing docs, so for now, when I'm going through compound statements, let me just put named expression in there.
So there's two different, from a TechWriter perspective, there are two different use cases as a reader. One use case is the reference, which is the structure that we're looking at right now.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other use case is the description or explanation, which would be a separate scenario. The docs aren't currently structured that way. That's part of what Daniele and those guys are talking about. So, in other words, I think it's fine. This as a reference is probably fine the way it is. But what it doesn't do is explain. That would be like a different scenario, a different representation of the same thing.
Or, well, this is the ultimate reference.
When I say explain, I mean like, in other words, to educate.
Right. So this is the ultimate reference, right? This is the driest you can be, and very technical. And
yes.
I'm not sure why you would read this unless you're debugging your own Python parser or something like that. And yeah, it's true that that this documentation tries to explain more, but I would still say it's a reference.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, it's not really narrative, but that might be.
Well, it just goes through everything, and
yeah.
I assume you can jump to different places in it and find your way, even if you don't have all the context. Yeah.
I didn't mean to distract you. I'm sorry.
No, that's perfectly fine. That's why I'm inviting everybody, actually. Anyway, so what I was doing, I was looking at the expressions, and at the end here, so I can do it like this. So conditional expression, and named expression would all be documented in this place, unless we want to refactor the documentation, which we probably do, but later.
I have a question. So, out of curiosity, do you like the order in which it says that it says conditional expression, and named expression? Would it better? I mean, this is a super nit, but I'm just wondering if it might be better to list those in the order in which they are, like in ascending or descending abstraction. Like expression is like the core, and then there's conditional expression, and then there's a named expression, and then there's a conditional expression, or
Right.
maybe it's the other way around.
No. So the
Oh, I see.
named expression
okay.
is
Perfect.
actually
Got it. Got it.
actually
Lovely.
matches
Lovely.
the general order of the document.
Yeah. Very consistent. Very
We
nice.
probably want to rename this expression to something else. It might be good to get the railroad diagrams going and look at how this works.
Yeah, I was thinking about that as I read this.
Yeah. The railroad diagrams might even need different kinds of simplification than this. This project is getting complicated. Anyway,
maybe not. I think there's some cool railroad. I was looking at some. I'll poke around again. There's some cool railroad diagram generators out there.
Oh, you don't have to. I can generate railroad diagrams. But
yeah.
when I tried to do that, I figured out I don't really have the data for them.
Okay.
So named expression is now gone from the if statement, and now we have if named expression colon block elif statement, or if named expression colon block an optional else block. Okay, so this should I'm not sure how to simplify this automatically. So this part here is common for both cases. So it should probably be if named expression colon block and then in parentheses elif statement or optional else block. And the same thing for the elif statement. Handwritten, it's a bit nicer. Right? There's no options. There's just if blah blah blah, then 0 or more elif and 0 or 1 else. But converting to that form automatically will be a challenge. Well, this is all about challenges anyway.
Well, it's BNF, right, down below. In other words, it's not really meant to be human readable, right? That second block. Oh, I guess the first rectangle is Python, and the second rectangle is BNF. Is that correct?
Oh no, the first rectangle is the existing handwritten documentation. So this is what you have on DuxPython.org right now, and this is what I want to replace it with. So this is the current output of my branch.
Yes.
Sorry, that's not very clear. Yeah. So what I did is I left whatever was there before, and then I added my own thing to like after every production list, so I can see them side by side. But what I'm doing right now is making sure we have the information we want, like as input for the simplification. And for if, we do have that here. So let's move on to while. While's perfectly fine with this. The else block here is the same as in the if statement, and it might be good to inline that in here. Why might it be good to inline it? Because it's small? Maybe. So I'm looking for ways to figure out what I want to inline automatically.
Oh, I see. You mean inline in the narrative in the text.
Yeah, move this and put it in here.
Okay.
Right, like it's here. We have only while statement, and
yes.
yeah, basically, this is the same thing, just inlined. Alright, next up we have the for statement. And the for statement is in reality very complicated. Ooh, there's one thing I see here that I could change right now, and that's get rid of type comments. So let me commit what I have. Status diff. Oh, this is a bunch of work in progress. So I have generate all descendants is now working with my own classes, and I'm starting to go through the documentation. Okay. Oops. That, and the rest is start generating, start going through docs and adjusting these top level rules. And now what I want to do is remove type comments. Yeah, let's do that right now. I want to do some programming. So this will be a simplification. How do I want to simplify stuff? Do I want to simplify stuff right now on stream? Actually, since you're watching, do you want to watch me simplify the nodes or rather go through the documentation? What's more interesting?
Oh, right now? I have no strong opinion, but maybe simplify.
All right. So, where do I want to put this? Generate data. There's generate related rules. And there's this node.format, so let's simplify this. So let's simplify these nodes one by one, like that. And how do you simplify a node? I have no idea yet. Maybe this should be a method. This is not like something I have in mind. So how do you simplify a node? The base implementation is it returns itself. Right, so that's doesn't really count as simplification, but it's a good base case. And then when you have a container, then simplification in the general case would be going through all the children and simplifying each one, and then creating a new container with the new children, right? So get the type. And or self type, and then you call self type and give it as items simplify simplify and stuff like that. Right. Oh, that's, oh, and I didn't return. Okay. And when I have a decorator, I want to simplify its items. So self.item.simplify. Okay, so that takes care of optional 1 or more, 0 or more. I have gather. Let's skip that one for now and see how this scheme works out before I tackle this weird thing. And then simplifying leaves. Well, I want to simplify. I think reference is the type comment, right? So if self.value is type comment, then I want to remove this. I don't want to return a node, but I want to return nothing. So let me do a simple thing now. I'll return a reference to remove this, and otherwise I will return self, which is, I guess, the super implementation. There, and see if this actually works first. So that was in 4. Can I find it before the builds are before the Sphinx is built? So 4. This still has type comment. Maybe I don't print this out in this output. So let's wait for Sphinx to build.
This is so fascinating. Yeah, I'm so happy to be here.
Well, thanks. That didn't work. So either Sphinx is not built yet because maybe it's stuck.
Still building.
Loading pickled environment.
Oh.
Why does loading the pickled environment take such a long time? Maybe because I have this habit of interrupting Sphinx, so it's that pickled environment might not be in a good state. Let me remove docs build and try again. It still takes a lot of time, but not as much as before. And it's also doesn't take as much memory. All right, there's the build. Let's see if that worked. Here we go. So I successfully changed the thing, and now I have to figure out how to remove stuff. So how do I remove stuff? I think one option would be to say that if I have a sequence of 0 elements, that will be my marker for nothing. Hope that makes sense.
Oh, yeah.
Right, so what will this do? So currently, if I have a sequence, for the text representation, it will join its items with a space, and that is basically what I want. What I want in this case, right? For empty sequence. This is not a good string representation of sequences in general, because if there's something more complicated inside the sequence, I also want to put parentheses around it, so it's clear what the structure is. So let me put a comment here so I don't forget. So currently I don't need to do this because the grammar structure as it comes out of the parser is kind of very regular, I guess. No, maybe I do want to add it even now, and my string representations are actually correct. Who knows? Let's see what this looks like. So what I have here is empty square brackets, which means there was an optional type comment in here, and now it's removed. Right? Does it make sense?
Right. Yes.
So if there's optional nothing, I will want to remove the whole optional thing, right? That means either nothing or nothing. And it's the same thing with 1 or more or 0 or more. So every decorator, every node that has just one child, I can remove if that child is empty.
Empty.
Right. And that is the job for match statement. So I will match subgroup item and say, just in case this item is the empty sequence. And now sequence is a data class which is a container, so it has one data class attribute called items, which is a list, right? So for matching, I can put this empty list in here, and this will match a sequence with an empty list. This is the other reason why I wanted to build my own classes for this, because I wanted to make them easy to match using this match statement. So in this case, the whole decorator is empty. There. And I need to return that, obviously. Okay. And in all other cases, this will fall back to trying to simplify. Oh, I need to simplify the item first to turn it into the empty sequence, right? So my item will be self item simplified, then I will not match self item but the result, and also in here I will put in the item, so it should work. And run the build again. Okay, and something didn't work here. So now I get to debug. It should be a simplified reference only. So I guess it's time to debug. So what do I want to do? I will probably want to improve this output that I'm writing in here. What am I actually printing out? So I'm printing out the rule name and the rule, and this is the grammar rule. This is the input, and I don't want to see the input. I want to see these related rules. So whenever I generate a related rule, I probably want to print out this thing instead. Alright, so instead of printing this one, rule name and rule, I will print this.
You don't use PySnooper? Have you used PySnooper?
PySnooper? What is that?
Yeah. Oh, it's super cool. It's a little debugging utility that basically it will print out, like, for example, all the local variables, if you like.
Oh, never used print for debugging again.
So that way you don't have to have all these print statements. It basically does you can say, show me all the locals or show me the state of this. And that way it gives you a little summary.
I see.
When you run it.
So instead of putting in print statement, I put in a decorator.
Yeah, so you put in the decorator, and then you can, when you invoke it, you can tell it what aspects of the job you want to display. Like, do you want to display, values, or do you want to display the contents of a particular list, or do you want the traceback summarized in a particular way?
Right, that sounds like a good suggestion. I will research it a bit more and play around with it. What I will not do right now is install software that a random stranger on the internet told me to install.
Of course, yeah.
No offense, no offense intended. But I'll research that later. Thanks for the suggestion. Okay, so this is rule text will be this one, and I will use the trusty print statement. I also have some other print here, I guess, this match thing. This one, I don't want that just yet. There we go. And maybe I want to give it a bit more flair. Okay, so what we're looking for the 4. It should be somewhere near the top. If while
4.
Oh, here it
Two
is.
more.
4.
Two more, yeah.
Okay. So it looks like the thing we have in the docs. That's great. Let me also print the actual simplified node, and because this is a data class, it'll oh, I see. So I have a bug in here where I said when you simplify a container, you make the type either choice or sequence and put in all the children, except I didn't make it a list of children. I made it a generator of the children, and the generator can only be traversed once. So well, that's not the problem. The problem is that generator is not a list, so this didn't match. Right, now now this is really hard to read, so let me turn that off again. And I can probably turn off the Sphinx build in here for now. That's this one. So 4, it still has this. Damn it.
PyCharm has a nice debugger too. I haven't really learned to use it very much.
Yeah, I should probably learn to use a debugger, but I'm too used to my print statements. So the fourth statement is a choice of sequence of right. So yeah, this is the top level choice. Wait, where does this invalid for statement come from?
Oh, is it that from that list generator? Comprehension that you had?
Where do I remove? Oh, do I remove invalid statements in the format? Oh, here it is. Okay, so what I did in while formatting stuff, I removed invalid things. That should not be in format, since I have simplify now, right? So if self value starts with invalid, then I raise an exception, right? And the reason I raise an exception instead of simplifying to nothing is because I want to remove the whole option, basically. So wherever the corresponding try except is, I need to move it to the simplify. And now this format is equivalent to the superclass, so I remove that. The equivalent try except is right here in choice format. So I will need I probably don't need to have it in the I do need to have it in the choice. I don't want it for the sequence. I'm going to remove this whole choice. That includes a reference to an invalid rule. So moving it to simplify. So I'll copy it and then I'll see what I can merge again. So this list I will now have to construct with a for loop. Well, that's this try that again. And I will be making a list of items and appending this thing to that. Basically writing out the comprehension,
Yeah.
so that I can put in the try except. Try except invalid rule included. Nothing happens in that case. And now my items are done. Right. So that should be the same thing as here, except with the try except. Let's see if that is the case. For statement, nothing invalid anymore. Great. Do I have any more funny format? Well, yes, I have funny format here. I can revert this option wrappers back to what it was before. And yeah, generator expression, much easier if you don't need try except in there. Right. So we have a choice of a sequence of a string for reference star targets, string in, sequence of an empty sequence of items. Right. Yeah, that makes sense. So whenever I simplify a sequence, I need to throw out empty subsequences. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And what do we have here? Inside the format, this is formatting the item, and then it's checking if the result is empty and only adds non-empty ones. Right, and this is because if there are empty things in the representation, they get joined by spaces, so there would be a double space. But now I'm simplifying things. I'll be very similar here. Now I'm simplifying things, so I'm trying to get rid of empty stuff entirely, and I don't want to rely on not printing out stuff that has an empty representation. So I'll simplify this and just join everything, and now I'll need even know if I notice there's a double space that I need to simplify more. And now when I simplify a sequence, I don't want this try except here. I only want that for the choice. But here I again can match on the item, and if I have this empty thing, I don't do anything. And otherwise, that's not else, that's case underscore. I append the item, and I want to simplify before matching, so item simplify. Well, hopefully that'll work. So first statement. Okay, this looks simpler now. So I have a sequence of items for star targets in star expressions, colon, and now there's an optional choice of an empty sequence. Closer. A bit closer,
Yeah,
but
okay.
not that
Yep.
close. So what do I want to do? Whenever this thing happens to be empty,
Okay. Do we add that to the match, to the case?
yeah, there's no match yet.
Oh no, I'm sorry, I meant down in sequence simplify.
Yeah, I could do an empty. I could do an empty container here. Like that, right? Yeah, that makes sense, I guess. But I also want to do the same thing in the choice. When I have an empty container, I don't want to put it in the choices. Right? So let's do that.
Okay.
This would be item equals item simplify. The try has to be around this imp simplify. That's where the exception happens. There needs to be the else, or another thing I could do here is continue. And here we have the same match as before, right? So we match the item. If it's an empty container, we do nothing. Otherwise, we append it. Okay. Where's my little 4? Should probably search for if for STMT. Right, so how far did we get now? 4 star targets in, star expressions, colon, and now we have an optional choice that's empty. And that's because the optional is a decorator, and that only matches sequence, not container. So I also want to ignore empty choices. Okay, and now the damn thing disappeared finally. 4 star targets in, star expressions, colon, block. There's no type comment anymore. What, was it in this place? Yeah, after the colon there was this optional thing, which is now gone. Woohoo! Success! I managed to simplify stuff. That was a
This is so cool.
What was the name again? Type.
Comment, yes.
Right. That was probably one of the easiest simplifications I could make, which is I wanted to make it first. Now I want to rebuild with Sphinx again. I lost my mouse cursor. So where's my control on this keyboard? Here we go. So rebuild that. And there's one more thing I could do to make this easier to follow, and that's an empty line before every row. Sphinx is done, and this is gone. Great. So back to simplifying the documentation. So for statement has start targets, and start targets, let's see in the full grammar, are used in assignments for loops for if clause in comprehensions. And list of star targets. And that's it. So star targets are used in assignment. Excuse me?
There's another type comment.
Yeah, so this is the full grammar. I'm not touching
Oh, of course. Okay, got it.
So the funny thing about the full grammar, I don't know if you were here last time, is it's generated from this restructured text, which has literal include. So it includes the actual file, but then it has language peg. And that goes through peg highlight, which is the thing that does stuff like remove invalid rules. Right? So the syntax highlighting removes the stuff you don't want to see in here.
Oh, nice.
Because the actual file looks like this. It's full of like rules of what should happen, which you don't want to see. Cool. I don't think this is nice. How do you debug this? There are actually bugs in it, and I don't know how to fix them. So I think one of the things I will probably need to do is write an actual generator for this that ignores the unneeded stuff, which is a problem because the grammar parser ignores comments. So yeah, funny story.
Actually, the PyCharm debugger might be useful here because it does a great job of like organizing, following the chain.
Right. So
like when you include something, it will.
Yeah, but I can't really use the PyCharm debugger to generate Python's documentation. Anyway, funny story. I will not be tackling that anytime soon.
Fair enough. Okay.
I will focus on making this easier to follow.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yes. Oh, right. Okay.
Now this is the Python docs.
Yep, got it. I missed a layer of abstraction there.
So what's happening in here? For statements has star targets, and star expressions, which there's 4 targets and expressions, colon, block, and then it can have an else block that we saw before. That can be inlined. And there's a choice saying it can be async and the exact same thing. Right? So I actually did this before. The railroad diagram I tried to do is here async, and then we can have 4.
Right.
So this is how it could be simplified, right? Make the async optional, and then the rest of the thing. But now I want to get rid of this stuff if possible. So there's star target, which seems to be used in assignments. And that's probably the equivalent of the starred list. So what is starred list? Starred list is in expressions. Starred list. Right, it's part of expression list. So let's put it here. Let me go to expressions, expression lists. put the start list and the peg fragment here, and I will also want to put it in here. Start list should appear in docs. Oh, it's not start list. It's the actual grammar rules is named star expressions. It'll be so great when these are unified. The docs are out of sync.
There are people over in the Write the Docs Slack who would be very happy to help work on these docs. If you need any
on Write the Docs Slack.
Yeah, sorry. So there's a group of there's a community of tech writers. They're basically the people who follow readthedocs.io.
Mm-hmm.
And so they meet in a Slack channel, a Slack server called Write the Docs. And there's a channel there specifically for Sphinx. And there's a bunch of really hardcore Sphinx fans. That's like the most active of the Sphinx users.
Yeah.
So there are a number of them. They often work for companies that use Sphinx, and so part of their job is often to, fix things.
I don't think they have too many problems with Sphinx itself, except it being slow.
No. I meant that they'd be happy to work on Python docs, as because they understand it. Yeah.
Okay. Well,
so if you have any issues. If you have any issues, or if you want to create any issues, I can let them know, and we can have a little work party or something.
Well, the problem with Python docs issues is
oh, I see. We can search for docs. Okay.
42 pages of them.
Right. Okay. Well, then maybe you could select if there's something that is of particular interest to you, especially if it's something that's kind of onerous and time-consuming.
I guess generally reorganizing the documentation, but that has its own problems.
Yeah. Well, Daniele is in that group also, so I can just ask him. I can ask him if he wants.
Well, we actually met with Daniele just yesterday, and it seems things are currently blocked on establishing the Python editorial board.
Oh, that's right.
Which is on review by the Steering Council, and once that happens, it looks like a bunch of things will be unblocked.
Okay.
For getting people to contribute. Mm-hmm. The problem with what I'm doing here is that I have no idea what the next step is. Right? I'm just figuring things out as I go. Which has its own charm, I guess.
Yeah, right. I'm really. This is, Sphinx changed my life, so I'm really happy to be able to contribute if possible.
Glad to have you. So what's your background anyway?
Oh my God. What's my background? It's actually, ironically, it's in network security and network operations. But I've been, a few years ago, I became more or less by accident, a release manager for a company that built a product. And they used Python extensively. So I realized that in order to create the documentation for the product, we would have to use something like Sphinx because the engineers were not going to write docs. So, so basically, I ended up getting falling in love really with DevOps and CI/CD and documentation automation. But most of my career has been in supporting things like email products and network security products. And I lived in the Bay Area for 30 years, and worked at Google for 5 years, and worked at a few other startups. So yeah,
Sounds
so that's kind
solid.
of like my general orientation. But I was also at Sun Microsystems in the 90s.
Wow.
So I have a long relationship with Solaris and Linux.
Solaris, I haven't really heard that in a long time.
Long time, huh? Yeah.
Before my time, I guess.
Yeah, it's all right. I'm older than just about everybody else.
I'm getting there.
Yeah, if you're lucky, you'll be as old as me someday.
Oh, thanks for that. Well, let me try to get back to making sense of this.
Of course.
So star expressions are now gone off to here, where they belong, or where they were before. Now we have star targets, which were named target list, I guess. That's the equivalent here. And target list is a part of assignment statements. So I'm looking for star targets in here, and here they are. So this is probably the primary place they should be documented. They're the equivalent of the target list here. Right, so let me take star targets and put them in simple statements assignment targets.
I should warn you, I need to leave in about 5 minutes.
Oh, that's fine.
But I will certainly be back.
Assignment statements. We go. So star targets, and I want to put it next to assignment. Here. Yeah, I'll continue doing this for a half hour more, and then I'll leave for either the week or the rest of the year.
Oh wow, okay.
I'll see. Right, where was I? Ooh, wow. Okay, so all the complexity was in these two things.
Wow.
And that got moved off to here, where should have already been. Yeah, this will need simplification as well. But yeah, so star targets and star expressions. When this is done, I'll need to go through the pros as well, because the start list is now start expressions. Yeah, this is interesting. So I think the final result here will probably need to embed this in the restructured text so that it's easier to see how it affects the rest of the pros. Because if I make this fully automated and the restructured text just looks like
Yeah, it gets really dense.
Oh, where's an example? Fragment here. So if the restructured text just looks like this, summarizing, here's a fragment of the grammar, and there's some prose that references it, that'll get out of sync. So I will want my tool to generate something like this directly in the source here. I really dislike combining generated stuff with handwritten stuff in a single file, but I think it's the best I'll be able to do here. Anyway, that was another digression. So 4 looks good. Try. So try has a finally block, except block, else block, except star block. Everything seems to belong here. It's just organized. Well, it's not organized as well as it should be, but that's for next time. Ooh, maybe there's a lot of text here. Next up, with statements. So with item, and with item can be an expression as start target or just an expression. And oh, this is so the difference between these two things is that one of them has parentheses around the stuff and one of them doesn't. And if you have parentheses, you can have an optional trailing comma. And then there are async variants of the two options. This will be very fun to simplify. Not. So yeah, then there's expression as start target, so that should be simplified to expression, and this thing optional. That might be easier to do, and still it belongs here. But start target looks like something that that might be better explained in near the assignment where we had start targets already. So that's expressions, right? Start targets, now simple statements, assignments here. Assignment statements. I was just there, wasn't I? Start target. Wait, is it start targets or start target? Just one start target for with. Okay. Start target brings a target with start atom. We should get rid of all that. The primary arguments are hopefully part of that as well. So is things done? Yes, things is done. And that removed that reduced it to a statement. With item, all the rest of the complexity is already in here. Right, expression statements. Do we even have an expression statement in the actual grammar? We have simple statement, and in simple statements we have assignment. Which is not an expression. Star expressions. I guess something from this is an expression statement.
Sorry, I have a hard stop. Anyway, I look forward to the next session. I dropped if you use those, I dropped a co-author, my contact co-author info in the chat for you.
All right, I'll look it up. That thanks.
And yeah, thank you very much. Cheers.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
See you. I guess I need to start collecting co-authored bylines. So what is start expression? Star expression is an expression. Okay, so star expression, star expressions is the expression statement. Maybe that could be expanded in the grammar. Wait, where was I? Am I at the right place even? Sorry, with statement. Yeah, wrong tab. Sorry. So I just simplified with, and I don't want to go here. I want to go to the match statement. So match statement is match subject expression, which should be here. Case block, which should be here. Dedent. That looks like it didn't get out of date that much. That's pretty recent, so that makes sense. So subject expression is a star named expression. Star named expressions. This looks suspicious. Star named expressions are star named expressions separated by a comma, and they can have a comma at the end. There's probably some deep technical reason why it's not put inside here. Anyway, star named expression looks like it's not even documented in the existing grammar. Where is it used? It's used in comprehensions. Huh. Or displays, I should say, maybe. Right, so it's expressions that can have star in front of them, but not double star. So that looks like it might go in what kind of expression is this? Might go in here. So starred list looks like that serves the same role as star named expressions. The starred lists are part of expression lists. Start item, start list, start expression. So right, so start expression is right here. So star named expression should probably go in the same place. Expression lists in expressions. named expression. Let's put it in there as well. Looks okay. And Sphinx is still reading sources. Writing stuff. Oh, there we go. Didn't I just say start named what did I just move? Start named expression, one of them, and not this list of them. Ah, dear. So I want to have start name expressions in here as well. So that should get rid of this and leave me with match, subject expression, and case block. That looks good. Of course, this patterns and guard need to still be documented somewhere below. So there's guard, which is okay as it is. Funny that it's documented as the first thing. Irrefutable case blocks. So they're just prose. Patterns. So patterns is an open sequence pattern or pattern. Open sequence pattern is documented as part of sequence patterns. So I need to move it to that space. Here. Maybe star pattern. What is that? That's part of the open sequence pattern. Maybe, well, maybe sequence pattern. So that'll go away. And pattern should be here. Pattern is as pattern, which is probably documented down there, or pattern, which is also documented down there, hopefully. Sphinx done yet? Did I want to move open sequence pattern away? Sequence patterns? Why is it left here? Is that a bug on my side? Well, it should be documented in here. Sequence pattern. Maybe this is taking too long and didn't pick up the changes yet. Yeah, Sphinx is taking a very long time again. I should probably clear its cache. Updating environment for like half a minute. Remove everything. Start again, please. Creates a new environment. I wonder why Sphinx is slowing down with repeated builds. Oh, there we go. Okay. So, refreshed. Patterns are now pattern and pattern. And there is a closed pattern. Which should be here and not in the OR pattern where the logic put it. So it should explicitly be in here, which is a bit weird because this doesn't reference closed pattern at all. But let's put it in. So patterns, which includes pattern and should also have closed pattern. Where do we have patterns, closed pattern? This will take a while, but hopefully it'll pick up the change. Maybe. Then we have as pattern, which has a pattern capture target. And pattern capture target is just a name. Okay, there's this capture pattern documented somewhere else. So I guess normally this I would want this name inlined in here, but not here because I want to document pattern capture target as part of capture patterns somewhere else in the document. As pattern, literal patterns, capture pattern. So capture pattern capture target, like that. Let's see how that works out. Got it here. That's what I want to see. Or is good as well. Closed pattern is up here. Fine. So as patterns now, literal patterns. Literal patterns can be assigned number, complex number, strings, non-true, false. What is this? Is that even valid grammar? Sign number, colon, number? Is that a typo in the existing docs? Might be. Anyway, what is a signed number? Where does signed number come in the grammar? So signed number is a type of literal pattern and that's it. So it's a pattern. It should be here. Now it's not documented in the old docs at all. This is not a link. And it should be that. So a signed number is either a number or minus number. And I wonder... Oh, this is probably meant to be a new rule. Now this is probably meant to look like this. Well, let me not fix that bug yet. Right, so signed number plus number. Then we have complex number, which is a signed real number. And a signed real number is a number. There's plus imaginary number. An imaginary number is again a number. And there's the same thing with a minus in here, and that's missing from the handwritten docs. It should probably be simplified very heavily. Alright, we have strings. What are strings? I happen to know that strings are expressions. Where are strings? Literals. Yeah, strings should probably be documented under literals. They're quite complex now. So historically strings used to be simple tokens. Well, not simple, but it used to be something like this. But now we have F strings, and I don't know where those are. Oh, here they are. Formatted string literals, which are definitely not tokens anymore. So they shouldn't be documented under lexical analysis. They should probably be documented in a new section under literals as expressions or something like that. I don't know. Anyway, I would put this is the right place for strings to be, as far as I'm concerned right now. So I'll get strings, put it in expressions under literals. So literal expression and strings go as well. What this will do, well, this will do. Literal express strings. Once I put it here, my tooling will remove it from everywhere else. And I think it's time to clear Sphinx's cache and rebuild everything. Yet. So that's expressions. Now have strings, and my compound statements do not have strings anymore. So this is signed number, complex number, basically all numbers. There's strings. There's none true and false, and that's what we want to see. Capture patterns. Basically, a capture pattern is a name. And the handwritten docs here have a look ahead assertion, which is quite interesting. Oh, it says a single underscore is not a capture pattern. This is what the look ahead expresses. Ha ha ha. Ha 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 ha. Right, so yeah. that will need to be rewritten, or I need to find a way to show some lookaheads in the generated grammar. It'll probably be better to rewrite this for that one case. But that's for the future. So a single underscore is a wildcard pattern. Like in here. This looks good. Value patterns, nice. Group patterns are this, and this includes pattern. Pattern should be documented along with patterns. I wonder if I'm doing the right thing here. Right, so this should be the only place where pattern is defined in the documentation. I should probably check if every rule is only defined in one place. Or maybe I should inline everything that's not given here explicitly. Where did pattern go? Didn't I say I wanted there? No, I didn't say I wanted there. I didn't rerun Sphinx with that change. It only picked up the change to the other file. So once again, but that should get rid of this pattern here. And now I go to sequence patterns. So that's maybe sequence pattern, open sequence pattern. So this matches either lists or tuples. And this is where we should have open sequence pattern, maybe sequence pattern. This pattern should be gone with the newest, with the newest update. Star pattern is repeated twice here. That is definitely a bug in the tooling. So generate related rules has this visited, but I'm probably generating two rules at the same time, right? So I'm looking at sequence patterns. Yeah, it's sequence pattern and open sequence pattern. So for sequence pattern, it generates this thing. For open sequence pattern, it generates that thing. This could be simplified, but maybe I want maybe sequence pattern to be a part of that explicit list. And that means put it in here. Pattern. This is open and maybe, and there's also maybe star pattern. And open should be first. And there's also star pattern, which appears in all of that. So let's see if that makes things nicer. One more thing that's not ideal, and I'll probably need to think of a better way to generate all of these. Yeah, so sequence pattern, open sequence pattern, maybe star, blah blah blah. All in here, nothing extra. looks good. Next up, mapping patterns. Mapping pattern has a double star pattern like in here, an items pattern like in here, a key value pattern, and there's also adder and name or adder. And I don't know if these are best documented somewhere else. Now they look like they're only part of patterns. So best documented in here. Great, let's go on. Class pattern, name or adder. It's probably also a local thing that should be inlined. Oh, it's the one we saw right here. Nevertheless, it should be inlined into here. And that should all be inlined into here. All the rest should be documented here, so that's fine. Now we go to function definitions. So that was all the match statement with basically its whole mini grammar for matching. And now I've left that and went on to function definitions, which I will leave for the next time because I'm out of time for now. So thanks for joining me. Hope that was useful. And see you probably next week.